Sup, Internet? Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Insight Hour, where we talk about, well, basically everything. Now sit back and get ready to have a conversation, because today we're talking about the latest Paul brother ballet featuring Conner McGregor falling through. YouTuber Foot and Mouth is being charged for blackmailing another influencer, and Big Tech feels like they should have the ability to suck up almost half the power grid while not paying to maintain it. All in this Monday episode of... But before we get started, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Never miss an update on the world around you. Now, Alice, pull up that Paul spectacle that just fell through first.
The highly anticipated boxing exhibition between Conner McGregor and Logan Paul is officially off. McGregor revealed the UFC wasn't sold on the idea, citing corporate complications under the TKO Group Holdings umbrella.
Well, folks, pack up your hopes of a McGregor-Paul showdown because the UFC just hit the brakes. And it's not hard to see why. For all the flashy headlines and eye-watering $250 million payout, the UFC seems unwilling to muddy its waters by diving into the Paul brothers' world of questionable fighting spectacles. Sure, Logan Paul is a WWE star now, and Jake Paul has been dabbling in boxing, but let's not kid ourselves, this isn't exactly the stuff of athletic purity. When the UFC has spent decades building its reputation as the pinnacle of combat sports, throwing its golden goose, Conner McGregor, into what's essentially a glorified reality TV special could feel like a massive downgrade. The Paul brand, while undeniably lucrative, thrives on spectacle over substance, more hype train, less locomotive. Just look at Jake Paul's bout, where the line between competition and choreography often feels a little blurry. McGregor stepping into that world might have drawn eyeballs, but also risked turning the UFC's hard-won credibility into a punchline. I mean, think about it. The UFC built its empire on real fights, ones that leaves audiences gasping over brutal knockouts, masterful grappling, and legendary rivalries. Imagine swapping that out for a circus match between McGregor and a social media influencer, complete with pre-scripted trash talk and punches designed more for TikTok highlights than a fight of the year reel. And the location? India, in front of one of the country's wealthiest families nonetheless. Feels a lot more like a business networking event than a combat sports milestone. Sure, it would have been a dazzling affair, but the UFC thrives on gritty authenticity, not the sparkle of corporate meet and greets. To top it off, Logan hasn't exactly been bringing any of that WWE bravado to the table. Hasn't stirred up any drama, just not really playing his usual character here. Without that theatrical flair, the whole idea lacked the juice to sell it as an event. And maybe that's the crux of it. The UFC didn't see a fight, it's all stunt. And stunts, while profitable, don't jive with the UFC's as real as it gets mantra. In the end, the UFC likely weighed the potential payday against the risk of tarnishing its image. And it would appear, at least as of now, the UFC is in no rush to align itself with the Paul brothers' brand of spectacle-first fighting. Looks like they'd rather wait for McGregor to step back into the octagon, where his antics, however controversial, still feel like part of the sport, not a sideshow.
A South Korean YouTuber known as Foot and Mouth Disease has been charged with blackmailing another content creator, Soo Yang, for millions of won.
From clicks to crime, the dark side of YouTube drama continues to spiral. And this latest case involving a YouTuber named Foot and Mouth Disease is just the next brick in the wall. The man behind the pseudonym now finds himself in legal hot water for allegedly blackmailing fellow YouTuber, I might get this wrong, Soo Yang out of a hefty 55 million won. It's about 42,000 USD. And pushing them to plug a restaurant run by his acquaintance. Because why just extort someone when you can also sneak in some free advertisement? While Foot and Mouth Disease is currently out on bail, the legal hammer hasn't come down just yet, with his next court date looming in February. If convicted, he'll join an ever-growing list of influencers whose digital personas didn't just crumble, they detonated. YouTuber feuds escalating into violent or criminal acts is sadly becoming a pattern. Just last year, we saw the tragic stabbing of, and I'm gonna get this one wrong, I feel like, Jodel TV during a live-streamed court hearing in South Korea. His assailant, surnamed Hong, not only committed murder, he left his sentence hearing clapping after receiving a life sentence. And across the sea in Japan, another YouTuber rivalry ended in bloodshed when a content creator attempted to murder her social media competitor with scissors. Cutthroat competition just got taken a little too literal. So is the pressure of staying relevant driving content creators to unthinkable extremes? In the dog-eat-dog world of social media, where algorithms reward controversy and conflict, these incidents seem like an escalation of a deeper issue, the blurred lines between digital persona and real-life consequences. It's also worth reflecting on the platforms themselves a little here. While YouTube can't exactly police every personal rivalry, the glorification of drama as a content category doesn't really help the situation. Audiences eat it up and creators cash it in, at least until somebody inevitably takes things too far. Because behind the clickbait titles and explosive thumbnails are real people with real lives and real stakes. It's entertaining, sure, but at what cost? That laugh was really unnecessary, and I'm a little ashamed that I did it, but I did it, so fuck you.
Tech giants are striking direct deals with power plants to fuel their growing energy needs, bypassing traditional grids.
Big tech has got an appetite that's going full beast mode, and the grid might not be able to keep up. Enter AWS and the Susquehanna nuclear plant's behind-the-meter arrangement. A direct power deal that'll skip the aging, overloaded power grid entirely. Sounds like a genius shortcut. Right? Wrong. And obviously, the deal is stirring up a storm of controversy that could reshape how electricity flows. Let's start with the basics. AWS's plan is like bringing your own mug to a coffee shop, but instead of coffee, it's nearly 1 gigawatt of nuclear power. A staggering 40% of the plant's capacity. For AWS, this means reliable, carbon-free power on a faster timeline than hooking it into a congested public grid. But for everyone else, it could mean higher prices, fewer resources, and a big question about fairness. Yeah, we're poor, we're never gonna get fair. What the hell are you talking about? Amazon Web Services wouldn't pay into maintaining the grid, even though it's still indirectly benefiting from subsidized plants and infrastructure. Critics, including grid utility owners like Exelon and American Electric Power, argue that this is freeloading. They claim that Amazon dodges a $140 million annual grid fee, leaving other customers to pick up the slack. And let's face it, if more companies strike up similar deals, this could easily snowball into skyrocketing energy prices for ordinary households, which is exactly what we need. I mean, rent's already skyrocketing, why not electricity? On the flip side, Susquehanna's owners defended the deal as a win for efficiency. They argue that it bypasses the expensive grid build-out and keeps transmission lines open for smaller users. Plus, nuclear plants like Susquehanna, long overshadowed by cheaper natural gas and heavily subsidized renewables, see these arrangements as lifelines for their financial survival. But this isn't just about AWS or one nuclear power plant, it's about setting precedents. If given the green light, other mega users, think Bitcoin miners, hydrogen producers, and AI hubs, will flood with similar requests. Suddenly, we're looking at a power hierarchy where the richest customers get VIP access while everyone else jostles for scraps. So like everything else in the world. The grid is already groaning under the weight of massive energy transitions. Renewables are expanding, but fossil fuels are still fading out, and data centers are popping up like mushrooms after a rainstorm. Tech companies can build a shiny new data center in 2 years, but grid connections might take 4 or more. An eternity in the breakneck world of AI and cloud computing. Who wins the AI race could literally hinge on who powers up first. So in November, the FERC punted the Susquehanna AWS deal on procedural grounds, essentially saying we need more time to figure it out. If the body sides with AWS, it could unleash a flood of similar direct deal arrangements, fundamentally changing how power is distributed, sending a ripple through the energy sector for decades to come. But what's your take? Should big tech have the right to cut in line, or does the grid belong to everyone equally? I mean, as the saying goes, with great power, literally, comes great responsibility, or at least a massive debate over who should fit the bill. And on that piece of... If you like what you saw here, make sure you smash that like button, make sure YouTube knows we're worth a damn, and I'll see you next time.